Welcome to the Dad's Group Chat Podcast. I am the host. They call me G. Today we got a special guest in the building, Wilfred La Salle. He's a independent filmmaker, screenwriter, actor, producer. What's up, man? How you been?
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. How are you?
Thank you for coming, man. I'm doing fantastic. Working all the time. We had a conversation before. I'm
Yeah,
working 7 days a week, but it's all good, man. Sacrifices and sacrifices, right?
absolutely.
So today I want to talk about your story, man. I want to go deep. I want to deep dive into like who Wilfred La Salle is, and we're gonna get into all the movies and films that you've done and the platforms that you've done it in. When you started, how you got into it. Talk to me a little bit about your upbringing, though.
So I grew up in the Bronx. My mother was a single mom. My dad left when I was 3 and moved to the projects. My mother worked 2 jobs, put herself through college. My sister kind of raised us while she did all these things. She had to provide. And had no role models growing up in the projects because there was nothing but negativity, nothing but people around doing doing bad things. And so I found my solace in film
Yeah.
and Rocky 4, all the Rocky series, but Rocky 4 in particular. I looked for that father figure that I didn't have
Mm.
and that inspiration, and Stallone became that for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So would you say that the Rocky series kind of like turned you on into focusing on movies specifically, filmmaking?
Oh yeah, it was one of my first loves for film was watching all the Rocky movies
Wow.
for sure.
Let me ask you, how old were you when that happened?
I was 3. My father left when I was
Wow.
3. We lived on Fordham and Valentine. Anybody who's from the Bronx knows where that's at.
I
And
definitely know where that's at.
yeah, my father, he had his vices with things, and he struggled with women, and he loved his women, and that was his downfall. But yeah, he ended up leaving. I was young. I didn't see my dad or speak to him for about 10, 12 years. And I was very upset with him.
Right.
But my mother became the sole provider. She did what she had to do to raise all of her kids, my
Yeah.
siblings, and things were tough, man. Things were really rough growing up. We were very poor.
Yeah.
My mother used to have to go to the bodega next door to across the street from where we lived just to get credit, just to feed us.
Yeah.
There were times where it was rough, but she made it happen.
It's funny because, you mentioned in the Bronx and all that. I was actually raised in the Bronx too. I came here at a very young age and we landed in the Bronx. My uncle was here, we lived with him, and it's like, those childhood memories, looking back at it, it was a tough neighborhood. I'm not gonna lie. We was in Grand Concourse, 172,
Oh
around
wow,
there.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's tough.
it was pretty bad at that time. But I remember the good times playing football outside, playing wiffle ball outside, basketball, you know, but there was always danger. I'm not gonna lie. The Bronx was very dangerous at one point. It's funny because as life progressed, we moved to Queens, but I actually worked in a school in the Bronx, in Taft High School,
Oh wow.
and I
I know
was a
what TAF
school
is.
aide there. I was a school aide there, and it's kind of like the Bronx has never changed, but it's still an area where you could still find good times. As a child, I can't say I had too many good times or bad times, but the Bronx was very memorable to me. And I never lived in like NYCHA projects or any of that, but I was a Section 8 baby. So I understand when you and benefits, all that stuff. My mother used to receive coupons. I understand when you say your mom used to go across the street or to the bodega just to get like, credit and stuff, because we did the same thing.
Yeah.
And my family's huge. I'm coming from like 14 uncles from one side, 13 uncles and aunts on another side. So they're all sprinkled around New York and in DR. But the first place we came was in the Bronx, man. But talk to me though. So you said, okay, Rocky, the series, the trilogy, all that stuff kind of like turned you into filmmaking. What was the actual film that you would say sparked that push for you to actually become what you are today?
I don't think it was one particular film, but I think the Rocky series definitely had an impact on what I wanted to do and what I saw in myself and what I had envisioned very early on.
Right.
But it was just a love for film. I always watched films and I was always fascinated by them. I was always like, it's amazing how they make them. It never looks like how it's like the way they film it, it never
Yeah.
looks like how it actually is. And then when you see it behind the camera through the lens, it's like, wow, like this looks nothing like
Right.
what you guys put on TV.
At all. Yeah.
And I guess I fell in love with that process of it. But it was a multitude of movies. I love The Crow, Brandon Lee, 1994,
Yeah.
one of my favorite movies. Gladiator, Batman, 1989 with Michael Keaton.
Oh, that was good.
I watched that on repeat.
That was good.
And no, it was just something that I've always loved. I've always had a love for it. But you know what it was? I felt like I needed everyone else's permission. You know, you're told as you get older, get a good job, work for the city, get a pension, get health benefits, you know, make sure you have something to fall back on.
Right.
And it's like, well, I don't want to do that. Like I did that for 17 years working for the city.
Yeah.
And COVID hit, things changed. My life took a turn for a whole nother path, which was the best thing that happened to me.
A lot of people went through that. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I kind of just like, I was like, I'm going to do this. I bought $10,000 worth of equipment. At the time, my girlfriend, Courtney, wanted to kill me.
Okay.
Came home. She's like, you don't know how to use any of this stuff. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm going to make this happen. It sounded insane to her, but she didn't have to understand it. I understood it.
It was a vision for you.
Correct. She couldn't see it. And that's the thing. And I'm not bashing women or my wife because I love my wife. But what I'm saying is they never understand a man's passion. You know, we're very passionate about something when we believe in it. We do it with all of our heart and soul.
100%.
And I think men do great things when their women believe in them.
Yeah. They give them the extra push.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, it's crazy. You said your wife, the girlfriend almost
Yeah.
killed you. My wife almost killed me when I did this setup. As we was talking before we press record, you know, you got to invest.
Oh, yeah.
When you see what God is intending for you, like COVID hit, it's such a tragedy. But through COVID, a lot of people kind of like say, you know what, I'm going to do what I really want to do at this point and dive in. And that meant spending a lot of money, unfortunately. Yeah. So, you know, I give it up to entrepreneurs who do that. My cousin, AC Shots, who's here, he also did the same thing. He unplugged. And, you know, shit, I'm trying to unplug and become a full-time podcaster because this is my passion too. But once you invest the money, there's no looking back.
No, there's not. And listen, honestly, I learned early on that people only change for two reasons: pain or tragic experience. And so sometimes I think that rejection is redirection. I've always said that. I've always said that in life, you want to go this way, but God or whatever you believe in, higher power, will always shake that nest. If he wants you to go left, he's going to make sure you're going left, not right. And so I just always trust the process. My wife has always said that to me. She's like, no matter how much you want it, just trust the process. And I was like, all right, well, I'm stubborn. I want it now. I'm impatient. I'm a Sagittarius. Okay. So that goes without saying, you know, how we are. And
my dad is a Sagittarius.
We're very difficult people, but we're good people. We're good people. We're just stubborn and we're set in our ways. But I just honestly, I just felt like this was something I wanted to do. And I didn't need anyone's permission to pursue my dreams. I knew that I'm only going to be here for a short period of time, right? We were just talking about our ages. I don't want to give everybody's age away, but I'm almost 40. I'm almost 40, right? And I was reading something that said that I basically lived 52% of my life.
Oh shit, I saw that too.
You saw that, right?
Instagram,
and then it's crazy because I was like, all right, how many sunsets do I have? How many more birthdays do I have? How many more mornings do I have? No one knows. That's the beauty of life. Life is a beautiful lie. If you knew your death date, you would do everything in your power that's unnatural to succeed at everything you wanted. And so I always say, you have a birth date that you know of. Yeah. You have a death date that you don't know of. What you do in between will ultimately define who you are.
Yeah. I'm glad you said you don't need permission to do exactly what you want to do, because that's the fear. A lot of us hold on to that permission that we might need, or that certain push that we might need from somebody to do exactly what we're intended to do. And a lot of people fail at noticing the gift that they're given. This is a gift that you have. Now how many movies have you created so far? And we're going to dive into that, but how many movies so far?
To date right now, It's 6 movies in 6 years.
6 movies in 6 years. That's amazing, bro. When you look back at your first movie versus where you're at today, you've seen all the bumps and challenges that you had to take throughout the process. But at this point, you've finessed all of those things. So you're perfecting it as you go, but you always have to look back at that first film and
Oh,
say,
yeah.
you know what, man, I started there, but look where I'm at. And it's all because you took that leap of faith from yourself.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Thank
So talk to me about your first film. Where was it created? Talk to me about how you casted, how the set was. What was the experience like? You creating your first baby? Like, how did that feel?
It was scary. It was very scary. So I didn't go to any fancy film school. I certainly didn't know what I was going to do, but I had a vision. And I was in Mount Vernon. I was working out in extreme fitness. And all of a sudden, these visions started coming to me about like this guy in a red jacket. And I saw all these different images. I left the gym, went home to write the script, hired this production company. I knew them from work. We went out to Shelton, Connecticut. We filmed Hilo, which was a very short film. It was like 10 minutes and 44 seconds. And felt like more of an extended trailer, if you ask me.
Very dope.
My wife was like, it's visually nice, but what's going on here? I was like, listen, it's just, I have my brain is like mashed potatoes. I just wanted to put this together
You had to
and
let
get
it
it
out.
out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, I look back on it now, looking back on it, I think it was a terrible film. If I'm being honest, I'm hard on myself, but it's the truth. And when my wife said it, she was like, I got really mad at her. I was like, what do you mean it's terrible? Like, what do you mean she's like, it's like a music video. Like, there's no dialogue. It literally feels like an extended trailer.
Okay.
So I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how could you say that? But it's growth. You have to take criticism. You have to learn in this business that you're not a $100 bill. Not everybody's going to like what you do, and nobody's going to like you. So you have to just keep growing. You have to learn to take that criticism and build upon that.
Right.
I'm very selective on who I take criticism from, but I am open to it. Okay. At first, I was like, well, what do you mean it's not good? We always get defensive. Maybe that's the Spanish part of me. I was just like, what?
Of course.
Me? What? But
of course.
But no, it just progressively, I just tried to get better each film. I try to make it better, make it longer. And that's it. Yeah.
So at this point, I'm skipping movies here. Hilo was your first movie.
Hilo was my first movie.
Right? From there, you did kind of like the trilogy, right?
So I did Hilo in 2000 and I filmed it in 19. Hilo came out in 2020. Hilo 2 came out in 2021. 2022, Graves came out separate from Hilo.
Okay.
23 was Hilo 3. 24 was Oculus. 25 will be the security guard. 26 will be the veteran. 27 will be Gravestone.
Oh, beautiful.
It's a prequel to Graves.
Okay. Let's take a step back here.
Yeah.
Your first experience on set.
Yep.
How did you feel?
Nervous. Had no clue what I was doing.
Right. So you mentioned before you didn't go to school for this.
Nope.
You just had a vision that you needed to do this and you put it out however it came out.
Right.
And it's your baby.
Right.
That's your baby, regardless if you think it's a beautiful baby or not at this point. Because at first, I could say the first podcast that we recorded, I was like, oh no, this shit is garbage. As you progress, you get better and better here and there. You start editing shit. You looked at this, right? This setup, it looks dope now. But when we started, my cousin, every time he comes here, he sees something new. He's like, yo, what the hell? Like, you got this whole new shit here. But it's
you sure
like
you're not a Sagittarius?
No. Not at all. Damn, my dad is like that, though. I'm not going to lie. He's always trying to but what I'm getting to is you was nervous. You was,
I'm nervous every film. Every film,
okay.
it doesn't go away. I just pretend well that it's good. And that's just being honest. Like every time I make a film, anytime I do anything, I'm nervous because the expectation has been set. Right, I've set a certain level of expectation. People expect a certain level of quality from La Salle Productions and from myself because when they see the films, they're like, "Wow, he's getting better and better and better." So raising that bar, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. Right. So it's like, okay, well, what can I do differently in this film that I didn't do in that film? Or how can I make this film better? Or how can I make the acting? What can I do differently? So you're constantly challenging yourself. So there's always that nervousness. There's always that prevalent. It's always there.
Now I do know that you also actor.
Yes, right? I'm a terrible actor, but yes, I am an actor.
No. So are you still going to act moving forward? Or is that done at this point?
So for the security guard and veteran, I'm not acting. I'm actually behind the camera directing. I felt like I don't need to be in every film that I'm in. Okay. I have a lot of great actors and actresses. They can take over, and I trust them to lead those roles, and I know they're going to do a phenomenal job. So I think I'm better suited behind the camera, but I will return for one of my films, which is Gravestone, which is supposed to be my last film. I said I would do 8 films in 8 years. And then I would be done with independent filmmaking and move on to working for Lionsgate.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
We're gonna get into that.
Oh, yeah.
You said my main question for you becomes the relationships you have in the film industry now. From the first film that you created, how many people were in the cast?
It was short. It was, I'd say about 4 or 5.
Right.
Yeah.
So from that film, was it social media that kind of like got people's attention and wanted to work with you, or did you know any actors at that point?
No.
Or how do you cast? How do you cast a film?
So
Since
since Hilo. So
Hilo.
what I was doing before that was just going on Instagram and typing in a hashtag of like New York City actress or New York City actor, and kind of like getting all those people who did who come up on the Explore page. I had to get innovative. Sometimes when you lack resources, you tend to become resourceful. And so I used that. And I was like, okay, well, I can't pay them either. So I was like, all right, well, we're shooting this film with no budget. I'm financing everything. I'm basically paying for everything.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah. And so what I did was, okay, let me find better actors. How can I make the film better? And what can I offer them? How do I entice them to come on? Right. So then the process became, well, I'll pay them through a reel, an acting reel. So they don't get paid monetarily. They get paid through an acting reel. And then how that works is once they get the fully edited shot of whatever scenes they're in, they're able to shop for an agent, creating bigger and better opportunities for them.
Okay. So and people actually agree to that.
Yes, they sign contracts. Everyone who comes on the set signs a contract. And once the film is complete and is out on streaming services, then they get their acting reel and then they put it on IMDb, or they shop for agents, like I was saying, or whatever the agents need, they submit it to them to get roles like on Law and Order. A lot of my actors are on Power, believe it or not.
I was gonna ask,
a lot of
has
them.
any of the actors from your films reached the next level?
Yeah. So we have an actor named Christopher Levine. Christopher Levine is a great actor. He is in Oculus. He plays Ryan Riley. He's in LA now. He left New York, pursued his dream. He's an actor in LA. I have Kyle Bland, who's currently with me. He's in New York. He's on Power. I have I had Jack Caruso. Jack Caruso's on Law and Order SVU. Yeah. They all get different opportunities. And it's funny because when they submit these reels to like Law and Order and all these, they look at it, they're like, whoa, what production is that? And he's like, that's La Salle Productions. He's like, well, he goes, that's an independent production. They're like, there's no way. And it looks like we have a $90 million budget. I have no budget. And these people who have budgets look at my stuff and they're like, no way. They're like, no, he does it on a $0 budget. This is one guy doing 50 jobs. People think I have a crew of 50, 60 people.
I was also going to ask, because
just me.
You have different camera angles.
Yeah.
It takes you longer to kind of like film.
Absolutely.
You have to do different shots.
Oh, yeah.
And you're working full time throughout all of this.
Yeah.
Maintaining the budget. So you mentioned before we recorded that you only film on weekends.
Yes.
So on average, how long does a film take you to kind of like from start to finish?
So the formula is I write my scripts from March until June of every year. I start filming June, usually like first week of June. And then we film from June all the way up until October or November. Then it goes into post-production edit. And then we edit from November until March. Film is released at the premiere in March, exclusively to the cast and crew at a movie theater. We do this every year. It's the biggest night of the company's events. And yeah, and then it's out on streaming services 3 months later on like Tubi, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Roku.
So in terms of the actors reaching new levels based on films from La Salle Productions, right? I know the relationship is built at that point.
Right.
So do they reach back and kind of like reach out to kind of like create more films at that point? How does that work?
So I built this family.
Right.
We're like a family. I don't even consider it. People consider it is a business, but it's also a family. I always wanted that to be the mantra.
Okay.
And so I always tell them like, hey, listen, this is the next film. While we're filming the actual film, I'm like, all right, this is the next film we're working on. They're like, dude, we're not even done with this film. What do you mean? Because I'm always in creative. I can't turn it off. And so I will tell them like, hey, listen, you know what? We're going to be doing this. I have the lead for you. I already envision them in roles that they don't even know. or see themselves in. And so it's always trying to bring everybody back. Not everybody comes back. There's been times where people don't come back, and you build connections with them. And it's one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with, because you get so attached. You're working with this person for like 6-8 months. You've been with them for 5 films or 6 films, and then things happen in life. They can't come back, or people want to get paid. I know how important time and money is to people. So sometimes they can't come back because they're like, dude, I got to get paid. I can't keep taking flights out there.
Yeah.
And so it just becomes a matter of, if they're available to do it, they'll do it.
Right.
But most of the time, they make a lot of sacrifices. I have actors from Pennsylvania, Los Angeles, New Hampshire, Boston. They fly in, they dedicate their time. And so because they do that, I have a duty and an obligation to make these films as great as I can possibly make them.
You said that you have this system in place where you start recording in the summer, films get released in the spring.
Right.
But you said something key earlier that kind of like stood out to me. You said your goal is to create 8 films in 8 years. And that's it. Your goal is to work for Lionsgate.
Correct.
Doing the same thing in Lionsgate?
So I know that when I go into Lionsgate, they're obviously not going to hand me a director's seat and say, hey, man, you did 8 independent films. Here you go. I'm prepared to be the guy who's going to be waiting outside Lionsgate for 9 hours, hoping to get an opportunity, hoping to speak to someone. I may have to enter there and be a PA. That's the reality of it. People think that they're just going to hand you this position. I already know that nothing's going to be handed to me. Nothing has been handed to me. And so, yeah, the goal for me is to 8 films in 8 years. Who knows? I may do 9. I may do 10. I always say I'm going to retire. My cast knows. They're like, dude, you're not retiring. But the goal for me is it's bigger. My vision board is bigger. We create a vision board every year, my wife and I. Everything that I have on the 2024 vision board, I've accomplished. Every single thing. And when I showed my cast and I shared it with them, they're like, dude, that's crazy. I'm like, we make it every December. So this December, we're making 2025s. And I told my wife, I said, the next goal is Lionsgate. When I told her I was getting all these networks, she's like, okay. Yeah. Like she kind of didn't believe, but she's tired of hearing me. Yeah. And now she sees it and she's like, okay, well, you're getting on Fox. Okay. Oh, wow. You're getting on, News 12. Okay. You're getting on New York 1. Okay. You're getting on Bronx Net. You're getting on Bronx Times. It's happening. It's all happening. But it's work that people don't see.
I'm a big believer in, if you don't write it down, it's not a plan.
Law of attraction.
So you have to, that vision board is a must.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't done that with my wife. I actually wanted to start doing it last year for this year, because I typically work off mental notes myself. Like I write it down on my phone and I do goals for the year for myself.
Do weekly goals, monthly goals, yearly goals?
I do just yearly goals.
So I want to show you. I want to show you when we're done. I want to show you my vision board and everything that I've hit, and I'll show you what I've done. Which is, you go to Target, you get this like glass thing, and you start cutting these pictures out. My wife has like a printer, and we print them out. Like we put whatever we want. With the dog that she wanted is almost identical to the dog. We got my dog this year because she put it on her vision board. She got it as a gift. It's a good thing to do, man. It really is. And then we're Spanish, so we're spiritual.
100%.
And so when you seek those things and you work towards them, like a lot of people are like, hey, I'm gonna make a vision board, or I'm gonna pray for something, but they don't do the work behind it. No, it's not gonna happen. A lot of people think, oh yeah, let me just do the vision board. There's work that has to go behind that vision board. You have to. So that, and I think it'll be a good thing for you and your wife to do. It'll be great.
100%. I want to do it as a family though.
Yeah.
I want to do it with my kids so they can have their own part in the vision board as well. So they could pick that up and move forward with it. But very important point you made about working hard at what you want. Nothing is just going to fall out the sky for you just because you want it. Correct. You got to work hard for it. And there's going to be challenges along the way. So pay attention to that. Don't just think that it's going to be an easy ride because you're working hard.
Right.
Maybe you're working hard and you're going to hit the roadblock harder just to find out something that you needed to change at that moment, to pivot and make your dreams reality. So, you must work hard. There's nothing that comes easy. And, God, like you just said it, I'm a big believer in God. I'm very spiritual. Like I had somebody here on the podcast a year ago now. Her name is Philandy. She said something key to me. She told me whenever a door closes, I get excited. And I'm like, why? She said, because, that's just God telling me that there's another door to be opened. So I can't wait to see what that is. Like, even if I love what I'm doing, like even if this podcast shut down right now, right? And it was God's intent, like to make it that. Like I have to find a purpose in that. I have to see what it is that God wants me to do. Even if I want to do it, doesn't mean that that's what God had
Right.
intended for me.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But you're working hard at what you do. You're gonna create your 80 films. You're gonna be in Lionsgate, right? You
Absolutely.
have your vision board.
I don't have a plan B. That's the reality. I don't
You're
have a
working
plan B.
hard.
Like I don't have a plan B. Like my wife told me one thing, and it was this. You ever seen Rocky 3?
Yes. I saw all of
Okay,
them.
so Rocky 3.
I love Rocky, by the way.
There's a
love
pivotal
Rocky.
moment in Rocky 3. You seen Rocky 3? Where Rocky just has his son. He just has his son.
Right.
And Adrian's in the bed, and she says to him, "There's one thing I want you to do for me." And he goes, "What?" And she goes, "Come here." She says, "Win."
That's it.
That was my moment. My wife told me, "You've sacrificed our time. You've made our home into an office. You've taken I've given everything to my cast and crew. When I tell you they've given me everything, but I've given them everything. I've sacrificed
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, I've sacrificed. See, it's funny because one of my cast members who plays Omari Russell, James B. Randolph, he said to me, he got on this big set. He was on Happy Gilmore 2, which they're filming. Okay. And he goes, "Will, I just want to thank you." I said, "What do you mean?" "This is random. He doesn't do this." And I was like, "What are you thanking me for?" He's like, "For all that you do behind the scenes that no one knows." He goes, "I got on a big set. They have, I forgot how many $1 million in this one scene, Bad Bunny and all this stuff."
Wow.
He's like, "Dude, like you go hard. Like they don't even have the drive you have." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Thank you. Don't worry about it, but thank you." That meant a lot to me. That meant the world to me. And so getting back to what I was saying, my wife says, you better make it. Like there is no other option for me. Like when she said that to me, I was on 1,000, dude. I was like, okay, I have to really make this happen. When you have the pressure of your cast and crew that believe in you, they dedicate their time, they're giving away vacations, they are giving up gigs, paid gigs to be on your production that you're not paying them on because they believe in what you're doing and they trust you, you better not waste their time. You better give them 300%. And so for that reason, I'm driven to make sure that I do make it. And when I say something, I do it. That's it.
You know what you also have? That I have, that you have, AC? We have wives that believe in us.
Yes. That's so important.
And, we were talking about it earlier, but it's true. Like, if you have that wife that believes in you 100% in whatever you're going, not to say that you also got to believe in whatever they have.
Right.
And they aspire to do as well. But when you have that full support, that's why you're on goal. That's why you're on 1,000.
Well, I'm going to be honest. My wife wasn't always on board with this.
Right.
My wife used to tell me, you're wasting time. Why are you giving up all your summers, your youth? You're going to look back on this and regret this. I said, Court, let me tell you something. I've already spent 17 years working for the city of New York. I've already done everything that I didn't want to do.
Preach.
Getting a pension, getting the union, do this. That I didn't want that. It didn't fulfill me. It wasn't what I wanted to do. You know how you have that spirit inside you that says, this is not you. You're meant for something more. We all feel that thing. Everyone's born with a gift. It's up to us to decide and find out what that gift is to share it with the world. And so for me, it was more of, I have to make this happen. Yeah. It's just like, okay, well, this is it. Like, I don't need anyone's permission. And it was completely out of the norm to tell people I want to make films. They thought I was crazy. They were like, "You're out of your mind. Dude, you're making $27,000 a year." Okay, I was an NYPD school safety agent making $27,000 a year.
Wow.
Okay, and these guys, I told my dreams to small-minded people, and what did they do? They killed my dream.
You can't.
They killed my dream because I shared it with the wrong people. So I've learned I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to show you. And now those people are watching me saying, "Man, look at this guy. Look at this guy. We used to work with this guy." The separation is insane. It's not that I'm better than them. It's just that I believed in myself when they didn't. They were comfortable being mediocre. They were comfortable in that. And listen, some people are brought up to only know that way of providing. And hey, you know what? You got to stay in this little box. You got to get a pension. Your father was a civil servant.
And I have
societal notions. And listen, nothing against that. I have nothing against that. I'm not above that. If I have to wash dishes, I will wash dishes. I'm not above any of that. But what I'm saying is, I'm the guy who decided to pursue his dreams. I'm the guy who decided, okay, life is short. I don't know how many years I have left. I'm going to go for it, because at the end of the day, okay, if I fail, okay, but I'm comfortable to fail. And I've
Fall on
been
your own sword.
right.
Yeah.
You fail by your own terms. And I live
Exactly.
on my own terms. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to do something, I'm doing it on my own time. And that's it. And that's what it becomes. You start to get obsessed with the passion.
Listen, for all of you watching now, I'm just gonna say, follow your dreams. Sometimes money is not even a factor.
Mhm.
You could probably be making less, not that you are, but let's say you
Yeah.
probably could be making less than what you was making. But if you're following your passion, you're fulfilling yourself.
Yeah.
That means a lot. Eventually the money will come, but you're following your dream. That society thing, that box that we're put in, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people, they stay there and they're stuck because there's no other
But there's
right.
no growth in the comfort zone.
But there's no. So here's the thing. Here's the twist, right? Because a lot of times, yeah, there's no growth, but a lot of times it's hard for a person to see beyond that, to see their dreams become
Mhm.
reality because of the circumstances that they're in. You just mentioned we're from the Bronx and bad neighborhoods and all that stuff. You had to come out of that, right? You had
Yep.
to kind of like envision yourself outside of that shit. Before I was in the military, right? Before I went to the military, I didn't go nowhere. I didn't know anything outside of New York. Once I went to the military, and I credit the military for this, it opened up my eyes to the world.
Mhm.
Like I saw bad things, and we could get into that at some point in this conversation. But I saw, once I stepped outside of New York, because New York is it's a show in itself, right? You get entertained with everything. By the time 10, 15, 20 years go by and you're still in the same position
Yep.
because you're stuck in the cycle. But if you step out of your neighborhood, if you step out of your state and go outside and see other things, that'll open up your horizons. And a lot of people don't get an opportunity to step outside of society's box. And that's a problem.
Or they don't know how to.
Or exactly.
A lot of people are conditioned and institutionalized
It's a
where
lot of shit.
it's like, oh, well, the generational cycle of family of I call it like my generational cycle of curses in my family, of traditions that I thought were normal were not normal.
Shit.
It was more of having to break that. That's the hardest thing, to be that person that has to break those cycles,
Bro,
because it starts with you, but it also ends with you. You
bro,
know?
but I was just talking to my sister about that shit. Like, our generation is the one that is looking back and looking at all the generational traumas
Mm-hmm.
that
Absolutely.
that are upon us at this
And we
moment.
thought it was normal. We thought this stuff was normal.
We thought this shit
And
was,
if we didn't catch it, we would have continued those same
bro,
patterns. Yeah.
bro, and it's tough to continue moving forward in this light. So inflation, shit is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
We need 2 jobs, 3 jobs at that, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to follow our dreams. All this is all plays into that society box that we was talking about, right? Some people stay comfortable to not even look back at their generational traumas and continue that, right? But we are the generation that is looking back, facing that. I go to therapy. My therapist said you got to go back to your childhood and give yourself a hug, give yourself a pat in the back. Be that for yourself when people wasn't doing that for you back then.
Be who you needed when you were younger.
There you go, right? So,
Yeah.
and then by the time you're done facing all the generational trauma, you got to face life. Now you got to put forward and pour it onto the next generation, your kids and
Mhm.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll take that and move forward and escape from the generational trauma that we thought was normal.
Right.
That shit is crazy. We just took a left turn there.
That's all right. No,
On the
I like that.
conversation, but
That's great.
It's just dope.
That's real. And I respect that. And I respect you for that. And thank you for your service.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you for
support, man.
yeah, thank you, man.
Today I went to my daughter's school. I know Monday is Veterans Day. Every year around this time, I feel down.
Wow.
I feel like a black cloud. I feel like the other day I went to a veteran shelter. In my line of work, I deal with helping people get jobs, free training, and all that. So we're there creating an event for the veteran shelter. Bro, I cried because
Wow.
I felt like, why am I not here with you guys? Like, I
Right.
feel that like survivor's remorse or something. Like, I know I lost people and friends 'Cause I got in right after 9/11. So I know I lost some friends,
Wow.
right? And when I went into that shelter, that shit was tough, bro, because I saw myself in all of them. And it breaks
Yes.
my heart.
It
You know
was
what
like
I'm
a
saying?
reflective mirror. Like,
Right. And I'm like, why am I not here with you guys? This is where I should have been, but
you made choices.
I made choices.
Right.
Right. I
Power of
made
choice.
choices and
Free will.
eventually I moved forward. But every time around this year, I start feeling down and I don't know what it is. And my therapist and I are having conversations
Because
about
you
that.
have a
But
it's because you have a good heart, and that's why you help people, and you can't help but sometimes you take on. My wife is like that. She takes on people's emotion. Sometimes she can feel their
bro,
sadness, and you end up taking that in because you absorb it,
bro.
I guess.
And
Yeah.
these veterans, they were telling me their stories and stuff like that. And all they want is somebody to hear them out.
We're
So
gonna touch on that in the veteran.
we're definitely gonna touch
That's
on
gonna
that.
that's gonna let me tell you something. Any veteran, yourself, anyone who's in the Marines, the Navy, they're gonna cry when they see the movie The Veteran. Because it's a mirror, and when you see the trailer, it's emotional. How he's invisible to society, how he's discarded. And when you hear his narrative in the film, his name is Yanko Valentin Perez. That's the name of the actor. Dominican from the Bronx. He's a great actor. He's in all my films.
Can't wait to see it.
Phenomenal. He is phenomenal. We are going to change the way people view veterans from a whole different
100%.
perspective. And that's going to be touched on, man. It's going to be so emotional for people. When you see him narrate the trailer and you hear him say how he's invisible to society, it's so crazy. He's homeless, and we go back into his life, and it's amazing, man. But getting back to what you say, thank you for what you do. Thank you for each one teach one. Like you were saying, be who you need when you're younger. You're out here helping people. You're changing lives. You don't even realize you're changing lives, and you're doing that.
And touching back on what I was saying earlier too, like I went to my daughter's school today because they had like a little parade for us.
Yeah.
And they walked like the whole school, like the whole elementary school was like lined up and applauding.
Wow.
And all the veterans, including myself, we all with our kids walking throughout the school, and everybody was like on each side of the aisle. And I almost cried, bro. In the middle of the school. I almost cried. Yeah, I gotta talk to my therapist about that. But back to
listen, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I know, but now is that I'm figuring out that there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Before I used to hold all that shit in.
But being vulnerable is nothing wrong with that.
Man, it's tough.
It's let me tell you something. I was on this when we were filming The Security Guard.
Yeah.
And we were doing the end of the movie. I'm not gonna give anything away. I was in tears explaining it to the cast.
Yeah.
Me. I'm supposed to be this leader. I never liked vulnerability. Maybe it's because the way I was raised, I always looked at it as a sign of weakness. But when they saw their leader break down, they broke down. I saw them tearing up. I was like, wow, like they felt what I was feeling because it was so serious what we were doing. And it was like, wow. So there's nothing wrong with that, man. At the end of the day, we're human. You bleed red like I do.
Yes.
100%. So at the end of the day, you're in tune with who you are, and you're a good person. You're helping people. And that takes courage, man. We're in a world where people are selfish. And so you saw what your life could have been.
Wow.
And I think that's why you felt emotional, because you were like, though, that could have been me. You're always one decision away from a totally different life. Maybe that was your mindset. Like, wow, like, damn, if I would have, right? Maybe, I don't know. But
you're 100%.
I can only assume.
You're hitting it in the head. And before I get emotional up in here, because I've gotten emotional before, talk to me about The Security Guard. Because I saw the trailer.
Oh, you did?
Both trailers.
You saw both trailers? All right, cool.
I saw both trailers. Very, very like, it left me, it's like a cliffhanger. It left me like on the edge of my seat. Talk to me a little bit about that, because that's a serious, serious topic. And, now that I have kids as well, I'm not going to lie. I think about shit like that all the time.
Right, yeah. It's a parent's worst fear.
It's a parent's worst fear. Bro, tell me about that.
So, first of all, trailer 3 is going to be even more emotional. If you thought trailer 2 was something, trailer 3 is coming out next year. But The Security Guard is about, the main character's name is Omari Russell. He's played by James B. Randolph, which is one of the greatest actors I've ever worked with. I'm hoping that he gets discovered after people see his performance, because you saw him in the film, in the trailer, man. He is phenomenal. Basically, Omari Russell, it's my story. It's actually my story. A lot of people don't know this, but I was an NYPD school safety agent for many years. And Omari is me. Amari is me. And what I mean by that is he gets psychologically disqualified from the NYPD. It was his dream to be a cop. And he was broken about it because that's all he ever wanted to do is, his dad was a cop and that's all he wanted to do, but he didn't get it. So he becomes an NYPD school safety agent. And he's advocating for his daughter who has a bear named Mr. Snuggles. It's a coping mechanism. And so the teachers deem it to be a distraction. And so he's advocating, he's fighting the school board, he's going against the principal because they're saying the bear's a distraction and they don't want the bear there. And he's like, listen, he's advocating and he's going nuts and they're just not trying to hear this guy out.
Right.
Fast forward into the film towards the end, I'm not going to give too much away. Yeah. He's outside. He ends up working in the same school as his daughter, which is something that doesn't normally happen. Okay. But they granted it to him. You'll see why in the film. He's outside doing dismissal. Shots ring out. He's an active shooter inside his daughter's school. So Amari's faced with a very serious decision. It's a flight or fight situation where he's going in there, and school safety agents are not armed. They're unarmed.
Not at all, yeah.
He runs into that school to save as many people as he can. He's looking for his daughter, frantic, as you saw in the trailer. And what happens in the film is so emotional that when I tell you that it's going to touch the hearts of so many people, this has been an issue that has divided Americans for so long. Yeah. Regardless if you're a Republican or you're a Democrat or you're an independent, this film goes directly down the middle. It does not cater to any political party. Right. These are open discussions. On one end of the spectrum, you have the Republicans who are advocating for gun rights and their Second Amendment rights not to be infringed on, and guns don't kill people, people kill people. Right. And then on the other side, you have the Democratic Party who's advocating for stricter gun laws and mental health checks. And they want to ban AR-15 assault rifles because they deem it to be unconstitutional. People don't need that stuff. They're not banning guns. They just don't want people to have high-powered rifles or whatever it is. So
very realistic.
Very realistic. When you see these political scenes, it was so intense that I had to sit down with the cast and I had to really talk to them because I never discuss religion and politics on anything on sets or in person because it just divides people. And so for this particular film, I allowed it only for the political scenes. And so it was done with the respect and the integrity that it deserves. Everyone has their own views. And when you're touching on a subject such as gun violence and children in a school, it's a parent's worst nightmare. And most of my cast members have children and they attend these schools. So the emotion was high. When I tell you the emotion was high, it was so intense that people were like, Will, like, I can't believe we're making this. And I said to them, you know why I'm making this film? And they said, well, why? We want to know why. I said, okay. We've seen Hollywood make TV and television shows and movies about glorified occupations. And what that means is Grey's Anatomy. They're exploring doctors and all the miracles that they perform. Right. You got Chicago Fire. They're exploring the firefighters and all the great work that they do as first responders. And you got Law and Order that explores the detectives and the NYPD doing great work. But who tells the story about the ordinary man? Who tells the story about the sanitation worker, the Amazon worker, the bodega owner, the security guard? Who tells his story? There you go. And so I'm hoping that this film starts that conversation. We all want change. And unfortunately, we become a very reactive society and not a proactive one. And what I mean by this is we have a mass shooting in a school. There are victims. There's public outrage. There's a change. Everyone wants reform, right? 100%. And then what happens? The next story comes out and we forget. Our children are left behind. And who tells this story? There's never been a film made like this, ever. And so I felt I was the one to make it. No Hollywood filmmaker wanted to do it, so I was going to tell this story. And it was going to be controversial because it was going to be very real. And that's what people are going to see. They're going to see how real this is. It is going to leave people in tears. When I tell you this film is going to go viral, the world is going to be talking about this film. They're going to say, you have to see the security guard. And I'm hoping that we have some sort of change. I'm hoping that change comes because we had 33 mass shootings to date. There have been 33 mass school shootings. When you
say it like that, that's...
Yeah. And what I say is, are we going to wait to 34? Or are we going to make some changes here? Man. It's ultimately about our children. I'm not even a father and I'm making this film. And I can only imagine a parent should never have to worry about if their kid is going to get shot up that day when they drop them off to school. And so I say we guard politicians. We guard banks with firearms. We do all these things. Who guards our children? Who protects them?
100%.
And so it angered me. And so I had to make the film because it was almost a public outcry. Like, How could I not make this film? It would be a disservice if I didn't. Someone had to be the voice for these children, and that voice is me.
Nice. That's very dope, man. When does the movie come out?
So it's going to come out for the cast only in March. But then when it goes on streaming services, it takes 3 months to clear. So it'll be on Tubi, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV by late June, early July.
Perfect. Go check it out. Question for you.
Sure.
I know you said that security guard is you.
Yeah. A lot of what happens in the film is me. I'm not a father, obviously, but
Right.
a lot of him, I put a lot of myself in Omari, a lot of things that have happened to me in my life.
Right. How do these visions come to you? Meaning to create a movie based on a thought. Talk to me a little bit about that process.
So it's kind of a weird process. What I do is, my wife thinks I'm nuts, but I'm going to tell you what I do.
Geniuses tend to be called.
I'm upset. I'm obsessed with film. I don't think anybody understands how obsessed I eat it. I sleep it. I'm obsessed.
This is your passion,
I can't
bro.
turn it off. And
It's your passion.
it is. And my day job is my hobby. Filmmaking is my life. That's the reality. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Wow, I like that.
And a lot of people can't understand this, but what I do is I sit in my car and I listen to a lot of like trailer music. Like I'll listen to like immediate music, or like I'll listen to really slow motion. These are different bands. And I start listening to the trailer and I start getting these visions, and I start putting what actions are happening at certain seconds and what's what. And I start sending it to my cast, and they're like, dude, like, they know how crazy I am.
Put it together.
Yeah, and they're just like, dude, like,
Puzzle board.
where does this even come from? I'm like, I don't know, man. I just have this vision, and I'll call my cast members up. Sometimes it's 4 a.m, dude. I'm not even joking. Yeah. And I'll be like, listen, bro, I got this vision. Like, Will, don't fucking call me. It's 4 a.m. What are you doing? Listen, James B. Randolph got pissed at me. Yelled, the guy who plays Amari Russell. He's like, yeah. Will. But he understood. Let me tell you something. At the end of this film, he comes to me. He goes, I have such a deep respect for you. And he's been working with me for a while. Yeah. He goes, dude, thank you for trusting me with the main role. I believe in everything you're doing. You pushed me. I pushed him beyond what he thought he was capable of. That's what I do with my cast. And they love and believe in me. When they see these films, they're like, dude, how? I love it. There's nothing in this world I love more besides my wife. I love filmmaking, man. I could die filmmaking and I would be totally at peace with it, because that's how much I love it. I love it.
I could see that, yeah, your passion is filmmaking, producing movies, but I see that one of the goals is also pushing an actor to his limits, so that he could become
greater,
or greater, or even be on stage winning an award.
Yeah,
and you could look back and say, I helped that actor, or
yeah, absolutely.
have the actor say that about you,
yeah,
which would be amazing
as
well.
And they have. And here's the kicker: the whole reason I created La Salle Productions was to give the actor and actress a platform where they can showcase their talents, right? Wow. So no one's ever done this, right? You have all these big productions that give all these actors background roles where they're pedestrian number 4, out of focus. They're never going to be seen and heard. And so what my company does is we give them a principal role. They're seen, they're heard, but most importantly, they have a platform where they can act, which is what they want to do, and most of which are African-American and Latinos. Okay? If it doesn't exist, you have to create it, and that's what I did with La Salle Productions. I wanted to be that company that came in and said, hey, give me the ordinary man, give me the actress and actor who's doing background. Let me show you how great they are. Because they're obviously not going to give them that role unless they're connected. You don't need connections. You want to work with La Salle Productions, you email me, you come in, I have a role for you, we do it, you sign a contract, you're in. That's it. You don't have to have experience. Man. Yeah, you don't have to have experience. I was upset. I said, well, this doesn't exist. Who's going to give these guys opportunities? Who's going to give that African-American actor or that Latino actor the opportunity? Who? They're going to give him a background job. Say, hey, man, just stand over here and just walk back and forth.
Right.
No, I don't want that. Yeah. And then also making Omari Russell a single father was also done purposely to break Black stigmas. Right. In the sense that the African-American man is not present in his child's life. I could have easily went with the single mom. No. I wanted Omari to be African-American, and I wanted him to be a single father from Brooklyn. Yeah. And I wanted to break that narrative, that stereotype that African-American men are not present in their child's life. And no, he's a great father. He's advocating. He's present. He's there. So we're also doing that.
You can see it all throughout the trailer.
Yeah. Wait till you see the film. Wait till you see the film.
I cannot wait, man. I cannot wait.
And his daughter is actually my assistant, who's plays Harris, remember the cop that runs into the building, he disregards the other cop.
Okay, yeah,
That's so that cop,
yeah.
his
There was a cop that ran into
he
the school.
so he that's Rob D'Angelo. He's amazing. His daughter is Omari's daughter in real life. That's his daughter.
Okay,
Yeah. Mackenzie Rain D'Angelo. She's amazing. Amazing. That girl she didn't miss a beat. She didn't miss a line. She didn't miss a line.
man, I see it, man. You're
10 years old and this girl's knocking it out. She doesn't talk. She doesn't talk. And when she got on set, lightning. I was like, what? He's like, bro, you don't understand. My daughter doesn't speak to anybody. My daughter wouldn't even have done this film, but she felt connected to James, who plays Omari, and she felt comfortable. And so it really is, bro, it feels like that's his real daughter. I'm like, that's great.
It does. It
It
does.
does, right?
Yeah,
You see it. It's crazy.
bro. You're gonna be a blessing to somebody.
Thank you, man. I hope
I see it.
I already am. I
see
hope
it.
that when people see me, they say, look, Will La Salle came from the projects. He came from Lambert houses. He came in, he revolutionized independent filmmaking. He gave the ordinary man, he gave the actress opportunity that they would have never had. You know, like we said, be who you needed when you were younger.
There you go.
I didn't have a lot of things in my life. And so I need to break those stigmas and I need to be that person for someone else. It's hard to be that person, but you have to, unfortunately. I always said, if you can't find a good person in the world, be one.
Wow, that's amazing, man. Talk to me about these platforms now, because I
Sure.
do have some questions about Netflix, Tubi, Apple. What's the process of getting on those type of platforms now that everything is digital, right? Is it different for each one? I'm supposing it is different for each one. Is it, or is this like one level playing field?
So, yeah. So a lot of people gatekeep in the industry. I don't gatekeep. I'm going to tell you how it's done.
Okay.
So if you want to submit directly to Amazon, you can submit through Video Prime Direct, where you don't have to go through what's called an aggregator or a middleman. You can submit directly. You have to get captions, which you can get through Rev, or you can get them through AI. They close captionings for the hearing impaired. I think it's $1.25 per minute. You put up your poster assets, whether it's 3:4 ratio or 4:3 ratio, and you put a narrative, you put the genre, boom, you submit it. It takes 3 weeks to get on there.
Okay.
If you want to submit to Tubi, you want to get on Apple TV, you have to go through an online distributor. There are 3. You have FilmHub, which is free. They take 30% of your earnings, but they don't charge you an annual fee to maintain any of your titles online. But if they lose a contract, you get pulled from that channel. So let's say they fall out with Tubi, your film gets pulled from there. But they distribute to about 170 channels. You have Bitmax and you have Quiver. They're more expensive, but they all pretty much do the same thing.
Okay.
Now, when you want to get on Peacock and Hulu, you have to have a online aggregator. And so what I've begun doing is you basically have to reach out to NBC, which owns Peacock, and speak to their content management department, which I've been unsuccessful with right now. But what you do is you pitch your film to them. If they like it, then you pay them a fee, and then they're able to put your film on that platform. For Netflix, you have to have a Netflix camera. My camera is not standard for Netflix.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, they have.
There's a specific camera that you're supposed to have.
They have like
for
10.
Netflix.
I think they have like 10. You would know more about this than I would, but it's the FX6. They have a Red Gemini. These are expensive cameras. And honestly, it's good because I'll tell you why. They don't want, Tubi's getting a bad rap for having these independent films that look like, they don't want that. Tubi's become saturated with films that are really, and listen, I'm an independent filmmaker. I'm not knocking any other independent filmmaker, but Netflix doesn't want to be the next Tubi in the sense of,
Right.
it's a Tubi movie. That kind of thing.
Right.
And so they want to know that if you can afford this camera, my logic
You're
is
serious.
then you're serious. You're a filmmaker. And so that's why they have, I think, 10 or 12 cameras that have to be Netflix ready. Then you have to get a lawyer. You have to get an attorney. And then you have to go through their whole process because they do not accept unsolicited submissions for film.
Okay.
And so that's a process. That is going to be further down when I go to Netflix. But the goal for me, the next 2 goals is Peacock and Hulu for sure.
Amazon Prime. When you talk about these platforms and how to get on,
Right.
is it automatic? Do they approve it or can they deny it?
Okay, so let me just tell you about that. So FilmHub, I use FilmHub. FilmHub, it goes through what's called QC. QC is quality control. They have all these different assets and poster sizes because they have to pitch the different networks that require certain things. They're very strict. If you fail QC 3 times, they fail you automatically. You cannot go on any platform. And so your captions, they have to review your film. It takes up to 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
But then it takes 3 months to go live from the moment it's licensed. Once they license your title, meaning you pass, they'll send you an email, you pass QC. Amazon Prime license it on April. It won't go live until May, June, July. It takes like 3. But then you have to check the channel to see if it's live, because sometimes it'll say it's live and then it's not. So those are the little things you have to worry about that people don't tell you in the industry, but it's free information. And if it can help anybody, I'm willing to do that.
Because, I'm surprised that I'm not surprised actually that Netflix has standards that kind of like are set aside from everyone else.
Oh yeah,
because they have a certain quality that they
want to
must
maintain
meet.
and an image. Yeah,
Right. But once you're in there and you have this, meet the requirements, you have to meet it with every film, I'm supposed.
Every film that you submit, you have to go through QC. It doesn't matter what platform.
Right.
I'm sure the same thing for Peacock, same thing for Hulu. They all have to review your film to make sure that audio, they check every level. It has to be.
Look at that.
My films have failed plenty of times where it's like, like not plenty of times, but it's failed. But like, all right, well, we're not going to submit it because we don't want to fail you. They're lenient. They'll be like, listen, fix this, resubmit, and then we'll submit it as an actual submit, and then it counts as 2.
Right.
So
when you're on a platform like Netflix, my next question becomes, if it becomes a hit,
right?
I know they get their cut, of course.
So it's certain money per stream or something like that.
Okay.
So the streaming is not. I don't make a lot of money streaming. The only way you're going to make a lot of money is if you're getting thousands and millions of views and you're going to generate thousands of revenue. Right. I'm not saying it's not possible for an independent film. I know the security guard is going to break the barrier. That I don't think I'm ready for the success of that film, but it's going to do. I know it's going to do those numbers. I know they're going to be messaging me, reaching out to the actors because it's that good. I'm not even hyping it up because it's my film. I'm very hard on my films. This is the best film that I have made to date, and it's emotional and it connects with parents. It's going to be something that everyone talks about. It's going to go very viral, very fast.
So these platforms have their requirements. You mentioned streaming is kind of like a way to make money, but it's not like.
I mean, independent filmmakers are not making thousands of dollars. I mean, you're making peanuts, to be honest with you. That's just what it is. It's more of a labor of love when you make these films. I mean, people, you hope that you make. It is
a labor of love.
You hope that you make one film and that it goes somewhere. You put it in film festivals, but then you're paying submissions of $40, $50, $60, $120 sometimes. You submit to 20 film festivals. It's costly for an independent filmmaker. I
was about to say, if you're submitting to all of these platforms.
I lost a lot of money with Oculus. Oculus was, I think we submitted, I submitted Oculus to like 20 film festivals, only 1 or 2 selected. But see, people don't see that. They don't see the failures. They don't see that. They see me, oh, look at Will, he's winning. I'm taking a lot of losses.
Taking a lot of L's.
A lot of L's, man. I'm taking them in silent.
And wasting.
Not wasting. My wife would kill me when she sees you waste the money. Look at it. So,
yeah.
But you are. Listen, I send about, on average, 1,000 emails a day. 1,000 emails a day. I'm not kidding. And so maybe I'll get one response. Maybe I won't. Like, that's what people don't understand. They're like, how are you getting on these news networks? How are you doing this? I'm like, dude, I'm reaching out to them. Yeah. I'm being a pest. Like, they're not knocking on my door saying, hey, Will La Salle, we saw you did it. No. I'm reaching out to them. I'm selling this. I'm telling them, hey, man, you got to check this out. It took me 2 years to get on News 12. News 12, which is local, News 12 Westchester. I don't know if you guys have News 12 Long Island.
I know News 12 very well.
I'll tell you a funny story. I actually was talking to the editor
for
about 2 years. Every time I spoke to her, she was acting as if I was a new guy, like she's never spoken to. And it was on the same email thread. So I show up. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go there in person. I guess they want to see me in person. My wife was like, don't you dare. I go there in person. I'm knocking. It's a Saturday morning, knocking on the door. Guess who comes out? The editor. I say, hey, how you doing, Miss Brown? She goes, Will? I said, yeah. I said, we've been talking for a long time. She said, oh, yeah, takes my number. Bullshits me. Doesn't answer. Says, yeah, I'm going to put you, we're gonna do a show. We're going to do a Zoom. Never hear from her. Right. Never hear from her. Kept going. Eventually, Michael D. Simone, which is one of my actors, he had a connection. He knew one of the reporters. He ended up like speaking to the editor and saying, hey, so he put us in a group text. And I had her number. And then she answers me. He goes, yeah, we could do it tomorrow. Almost 2 years and 2 months. I said, are we actually doing it tomorrow? I said, listen, I don't have time. It's my wife's birthday weekend. She goes, no, we're doing it tomorrow. I said, send me the Zoom link. She sent it to me. But you see what I'm saying?
You gotta put in the work.
You gotta put the work in, man. You gotta put in your 10,000 plus hours. My cast even says, they go, Will, you know what I'm learning from you? That I have to be a pest. I have to be persistent. I'm like, dude, persistence breaks resistance. I'm like, dude, you have to be a pain in the ass.
Man, especially if you're following your dream, which you don't know how you're gonna make income in the beginning.
Yeah, man.
All that stuff is happening, and you must break that wall.
You have to.
You gotta send over 10,000 emails in the span of a month.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be
They're sick
this
of hearing
person.
from me. Listen, it's gotten to the point where they ban me. Like, they blocked my emails. I had one, I'm not going to say the institution. They reached out, they go, listen, Mr. La Salle, you sent us 60 emails this month alone.
Right.
We are not interested. Please stop emailing us. I said, I responded back. I said, thank you. I appreciate it. I should have sent 60. Maybe it would have been 61. You know, something like that, sarcastic. But listen, you have to do those things. A lot of people look at me and they're like, Will, you're such a success. I'm like, dude, I am failing more than I'm succeeding. Don't let Instagram fool you. I'm posting my wins, not my failures. That's the reality.
Unfortunately, that's what we all do.
Yeah, we all do that. And so I'm guilty of it, but I'm honest. And the thing is that I tell people, like, dude, I'm going after it. Like, I'm not waiting for an opportunity. That's why I created my company and I make my own films, because I would never get these opportunities if I didn't. These actors would never be seen.
So you did it.
You have to create it. Yeah.
You did it on your own.
Yeah.
Man, right before you got here, we had like 80 hiccups here, didn't we? The audio started failing. The cameras, it was too hot. It was too cold. The light, that light over there almost broke on me this morning. Like, it was a
GMX lights?
These are
GPX?
GVM.
That's what I have. GVM. Sorry, I have GVM.
Listen, but you gotta do
you know what that means?
do.
That means when all those things, security guards, same thing happened.
Yeah.
Everything on the last day went to shit. Everything. It was raining. I don't know how I was going to shoot. I had three of my cast members holding the umbrella so I could get all these shots outside.
Look at that.
I had a lady come in. She was nasty to me. She told me I couldn't film there. It was insane. If I told you everything that happened, we were delayed shooting 4 hours. 4 hours. I had to be out of the school by 4 p.m. 4 p.m. So I had to shoot 6 scenes. Well, 6 small scenes within an hour and a half. And I was efficient. I was firing on all cylinders. The cast was like, so my assistant Rob, who's the castmate, he was like, let Will cook. And I was cooking, man. I was like, all right, pressure's on. Michael Jordan in the fourth quarter. How am I gonna do this?
Why I gotta be Jordan?
I gotta lead by example. and so it just became, okay, I gotta make this happen. That's it. You gotta find a way or you'll find an excuse, man. That's just the reality of it. And I've learned that time and time again that every film that I make, I'm growing, I'm getting better, I'm getting more confident. And I think that honestly, we're onto something big here. Yeah. I think so. I mean, people look at me and they're like, dude, like, how do you have the time? I'm like, I work a full-time job. Okay. I'm not a filmmaker who's making all this money. Right. I am an ordinary man trying to do extraordinary things. That's the best way to describe it.
There you go. Talk to me about AI. AI has taken over a few industries, made things simpler for a few industries.
Right.
AI, does it have a place in independent filmmaking?
It does, but what scares me about AI is that it's going to kill creativity. It's lazy. It's uninspired. Yeah. I really am against AI. I don't use it for anything. I don't like it. That's my opinion. I think that it's going to take away from the actors. They already tried to take their likeness, and they had that big strike.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And so I'm really against the AI, man. Let me tell you something. People think acting is easy. The actors that I have, actors in general as a whole, the work that they put in, the amount of time. I have actors who go to Lee Strasberg Academy. I have actors who constantly work on their craft, and they thrive on being better. It's a lot of work. You're asking people to think of emotion on the whim.
On the whim.
And feel something for a character and create and be a totally different person and feel emotion for something that they don't really care for or they can experience. So that's a lot of work.
Shit,
it's a lot.
I'll take it further. They have to tap into some trauma.
Yeah.
That they are trying to run from.
Let me tell you something. James B. Randolph. I don't know if you ever decide to bring him on here. He's amazing. That's the main character of Omari Russell. That man, my whole cast gave 2,000%. What I asked of him was unreal, and he gave it to me.
Wow.
He had nothing left. And I told him, I said, you got to go deeper, deeper. That man gave me, he was depleted. And he goes, Will, I gave you everything I had. I said, thank you, because I'm willing to give you more. He killed it.
Listen.
His performance, if he doesn't get recognized by 50 Cent, by they are losing out. He is phenomenal. Phenomenal. And I'm not saying it because he's the main character of Security Guard. When you saw people who saw the trailer go, man, that actor is, you got to see you're going to be hysterical when you see this stuff. If you're emotional now, dude, this film is a bag of emotions. It's a roller coaster. It's just moving and moving. It's going to shock the world, man.
And AI cannot do that.
No, they cannot give you that.
Right? Because even in every industry, right? Because it simplifies a few things, but when you need hands-on emotions, when you need hands-on like processes, even in the podcast, like you could throw this video in like an Opus clip or whatever, and it'll spit out clips. But nothing feels better than me going in there and kind of like creating a clip myself, or seeking specifically what I'm looking for and developing it the way, like you said, you sit down sometimes and like listen to theme music, and kind of like you create from that. Like us creators love that shit. Like we love just taking something out of nothing and like developing it.
It's
like
the process they're taking away.
We was talking about how this looks here, and it's like I look back and I look now and I'm like, yo, this shit looks. I never thought this shit would look this good. I'm not tooting my own horns, but I put in the fucking work.
And it looks, and you can see it.
Exactly.
First thing I said when I came in, I said, man, this is amazing. I was inspired when I came in here. I was literally,
brother.
I was inspired, and I'm not easily inspired. And I'm honest. I'm very honest. I'm not going to tell you something's good when it's not. I was inspired. When I saw this, I said, wow, maybe when I'm done with film, or maybe I'll write a book, or maybe I'll have a podcast where I could bring creatives on and talk to other filmmakers. Who knows? But you're inspiring me to want to do that, want to do this stuff, because I know nothing about this stuff, and listen, I think it's amazing.
You could reach out to me, and I'll give you all the tools, my brother.
This is awesome. Thank you.
It's all about paying it forward, like you said. It's all about helping and assisting others, because we connected, right?
Yeah, I reached out to you.
Somehow the universe, you connected.
Yeah,
you connected with me, and we connected, and it's like, and we build from this point on.
Right.
This relationship, this conversation is going to help somebody else. This is what it is about. It's about paying it forward. The jewels that were told in this podcast will help somebody feel like, you know what, I have to go for my dreams. You know what?
Yeah.
This guy, Wilfred La Salle, he didn't have, he had a regular job. He was, in the society box. He stepped out of it. That's inspiring, man. Your story is inspiring. And, it's going to help somebody else push and move forward in their life.
Yeah. I hope so. Honestly, I really do, because I had nothing growing up, man. I had my mom. My mom was busy doing what she was doing, trying to provide for a family. And I just want to be a beacon of hope for people. I want people to look at me and say, if Will La Salle did it, I can do it. If this man came in here with nothing, had no father figure, it's not an excuse. He wanted to be better. He wanted to help people who were like him. Because we're all talented. Everyone has talent. Everyone is a creator. You're a father. You're a creator of life. You're a creator of life. You guys created this. Everyone has creativity. Everyone has talent. They have to tap into it and learn. You're either going to die with the talent, or you're going to discover it and share it with the world. That's the reality of it. And I hope that people are brave enough to say, you know what, man, I believe in me. That's the hardest thing. Just believe in you. Believing in yourself.
You know what's crazy about that? Like, there are a lot of times that you even want to give up on your passion. Talk to me a little bit about the biggest challenge you've had in this creative world that you almost stepped away from it all.
I love filmmaking, but it's very stressful. A lot of people don't realize what I give up. A lot of people don't understand the time that I give up with my wife. The weekends are gone. My whole summers are gone. My winters are gone. My house is an office. That takes a strain on my marriage, takes a strain on my wife. My wife, there were times where we argued about this. And she was like, well, when are you going to quit this? When are you going to give this up? And I had to have a serious talk. And I told her, listen, I'm never giving this up. This is my life. My whole life, I wanted to be a police officer. My whole life. I was rejected by 6 to 7 police departments in my life. I was broken. When I tell you broken beyond measure.
Wow.
Cried. My wife was like, listen, trust the process. And so I did. And so I realized that every door that closed on me when it came to becoming a cop was because I wasn't meant to go through that door.
Meant to go through this.
I was meant to be the greatest independent filmmaker in the world.
There you go.
And this was my purpose. And so I told her, I said, this is where I feel most alive. I've never felt more alive making films than I do. Like it's a part of me, but it's challenging when I'm one man trying to do everything. I'm sending emails. It's overwhelming. And a lot of people don't realize this. They see me and I present this strong figure and yeah, I'm this. But behind closed doors, it takes a strain. It takes a strain on my relationship. It takes a strain on my time with my wife. And as much as my cast gives up, I give up 3 times as much. Yeah. Editing and everything. And you're a father, you know how hard it is. You're working, your jobs and
I got 2 jobs.
Yeah, man.
Working 7 days a week, sacrificing.
It's a lot.
Have kids, family, wife. It's a lot going on at all times, but I find time for my passion.
And you know what's amazing? And I got this from Interstellar. You ever seen the movie Interstellar?
Yes, I did.
There's a really
I was thinking about rewatching that the other day because I feel like there's some gems there that I didn't pick up initially.
Here's a good gem.
Yeah.
I'm not a father. You guys are both dads. And remember when he says to his daughter, he goes, ultimately, you're training a replacement. That's what your kids are. Ultimately, you're training a replacement. So when you're gone, what are they going to inherit? They're going to inherit the memories, what you taught them, not the material things.
Not at all.
And so what you're doing is you're creating a legacy. You're showing them through hard work and dedication that, you know what, my dad, he created this. He believed in himself. It's the best thing you can do for them.
Man, I'm very intentional on letting them know early what I got to find out late in life. I'm very intentional.
You're that filter, though. Now you're that filter that stops all that stuff, and you make sure they inherit generational wealth and love and peace. Most important thing.
And not generational trauma.
Correct.
Wow. So the future of La Salle Productions. I know you said 8 years, 8 films, vision board. It's on there. Right. You have it all written down. Talk to me beyond that.
The goal for me is 8 films in 8 years. Right. I eventually want to retire from independent filmmaking, not from filmmaking as a whole. Right. I want to work for Lionsgate. I want to create these films. I've watched what they've created. They just redid The Crow 2024, which was terrible with Bill Skarsgård. And I'm saying to myself, man, if they think this is good and they have no ideas, like I need to come in and really show them what we can actually do here. All I need is a budget, man. Honestly, if someone came and said, hey, listen, Will La Salle, we're going to give you 50 grand. Do you know what I could do with 50 grand? I could shut streets down. I could get permits. That will open up so many different doors for me. And so I said to myself, the goal for me is to eventually work for Lionsgate. I can't take all of my cast members with me, but I'll take the main ones, the ones I know that are very serious and love this as much as I do.
Right.
And give them an opportunity. But like I said, I know that Lionsgate's not going to just give me, hey, here, Will La Salle, you made 8 independent films. You're the self-proclaimed greatest independent filmmaker in the world. We're going to give you a director's seat. It's not going to work like that. Like I was telling you, I may have to go get these guys a cup of coffee and be a PA. 100%. I may have to start again from the bottom, and I'm prepared to do that.
Sometimes that's what it takes.
It does. Mm-hmm. But the reality is I tell all my cast members I'm going to retire, but I'm probably not going to retire because I love this so much. And it's funny because Rob D'Angelo tells me, he's one of my cast members and my assistant and my production manager. He goes, Will, you're going to retire for 2 months. You're going to come back and be like, you know what? These other independent filmmakers are not revolutionizing independent film. I got to get out there and show them what it is. And I got to go out there and make a new film. That's the reality I'm always going to want to create. I can't turn it off. Sometimes I can't sleep at night because I'm always thinking about the next idea. I'm sure you can relate. Like, always, yeah. Oh man, I got this great episode I want to touch on, and this would be dope if we're always creating. I think that's every creative's issue. When you love something, you just find a way. But if I could leave you with one thing, I want to leave you with a few things. And what I've learned to change the positive and the negative into a positive, rather, is no means numerous opportunities. Wow. Impossible, separated, means I'm possible. Rejection is only redirection.
Mm.
Last but not least, legends are not defined by their successes. They are defined by their ability to bounce back from their failures. That's what I've learned. And I'm going to stick to those mantras.
Man, Will, thank you so much for coming on the platform,
Thank you.
man. Listen, I appreciated the conversation. I appreciated you opening up too,
Thank you, man. I
talking about your
appreciate it.
family, your upbringing, how tough it was, and it all led you here. Brother, listen, you have big things coming. I can see it. You're gonna help so many people achieve their goals. It's all a part of the process. God said no to things that you loved and you wanted to do. Remember that. Just because he needed you to be here helping more people do what they love to do as well,
And
alongside with yourself.
and believing in themselves.
Yes.
I hope that I've done that. I hope that right now my cast can look back and say, hey man, Will did that for me. That's the best feeling in the world. When you have people,
Man,
I get emotional like when I hear that, when people are like, Will, man, you did that for me. I'm like, wow, like that's all I ever wanted. So to give them that makes me feel good. Like, damn, I helped change someone's life. I gave them inspiration. That's the best feeling in the world, man.
Well, you mentioned it a few times, but what you didn't receive as a kid, you give in abundance to others.
Yes. Amen.
Where can look at the camera and tell people where they can find you, man?
I'm on IMDb. If you search me as Wilfred La Salle, I come up. If you search me on Google, I'm a public figure. But my website is www.lasalleproductions.com. You can find all the latest updates, including the brand new veteran poster, the new stills for the veteran movie that's coming out in 2026. And you can see all of my accolades and every article that has been written on me on my website.
Thank you so much for coming on the platform.
Thank you for
Will.
having me.
For all those people on the group chat, thank you so much for tuning in. I love you all. Subscribe, like, comment. A lot of good clips are coming out of this episode for sure. Stay tuned. More coming soon. Will, thank you so much for coming. AC Shots. Love you, bro. We out. Peace.